Hello everybody, today I'm with Jason Lemay. He's a student at Guelph University and he's preparing a PhD on biological control in cannabis. So, hi Jason, how are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
So, just before we start talking about the main topic, can you give us a little bit presentation of yourself and your background, please?
Yeah, I grew up in the Niagara region in Welland, and then I went to the University of Guelph to do my undergrad and as well as my master's. I did my master's on carrot insect pests, working on their biology and some new chemical control options, focused mostly on the Holland Marsh. And then I worked in industry as a consultant for 3 years in greenhouses, doing pest management consulting. And then I went back to Guelph to do my PhD, or start my PhD with Dr. Cynthia Scott-Dupree.
So can you tell us a little bit like what you can disclose about what you're studying in your PhD?
Yeah, so my PhD really started when I was consulting and just talking with people, and we kind of realized quickly that biological control wasn't working well in cannabis. They were spending much more money on their biological control agents, the insects, and not getting the same benefit that flowers and vegetables were getting. So after thinking about that for a while, I really wanted to investigate that. And what I kind of come up with is that there's a lot of plant volatiles that are released based on different cues, different stresses. One specific, they're called herbivore-induced plant volatiles. So when a pest is feeding on a plant, that plant can release a blend of chemicals to inform neighboring plants that there's pests in the area. It can affect the pests in negative ways, but it also mostly is commonly used to attract in parasitoids and predators. So where my focus is going to be is on how those three things interact, and the fact that a lot of those herbivore-induced plant volatiles are blends of terpenes. And one important factor in cannabis is that the high production of terpenes. That's what gives all the different strains their different characteristics in scent and taste and the medicinal properties and differences between the strains. Where it becomes interesting is that a lot of those terpenes overlap with a lot of herbivore-induced plant volatiles, but they're released into the environment without the herbivore present. So my PhD is going to be on investigating how those things affect the host finding behavior and other behaviors in parasitoids and predators. My theory is that they're either sensing that there are aphids everywhere in the crop and they can't actually find them, or they're wasting a lot of energy searching because they think there's aphids there and there's not, or maybe even that the parasitoids or predators become habituated to those compounds and they just no longer respond to them.
Yeah, so you're working on understanding those behaviors regarding the terpenes and everything, so that you can adapt the pest strategy, like the pest management strategy, like which biocontrol agent is working and for what kind of crop, and based on.
So from early on, what we'll kind of see is how well some of these biocontrol agents are working, and then in the long term, we hope to be able to maybe profile cannabis strains based on their terpene profile. So if this blend of terpene is present, we might be able to show that it's not compatible with certain parasitoids, for example. So, you know, if you're growing this variety, don't waste your money on certain parasitoids because of this interference between the host finding cues.
So that will come at the end with a kind of classification of all the different varieties and cultivars. Hopefully. Based on.
Yeah, the difficulty is that there's going to be so many varieties and they're all different in their terpene profiles. And there's a lot of synergy between terpenes. So for example, there can be one terpene that's used as an alarm pheromone, and in studies they can elicit a response. But then when you mix or release a blend of that terpene in a second one, you don't see that same response in a lab study. So bringing that out to the field is going to be really difficult because there's, they've identified over 100 terpenes, and any given strain will have upwards of 30 or 40 terpenes, and 15 of those are major terpenes, and then there's a few that are 1% of the blend, but they still are bioactive. So I don't know if we'll necessarily be able to come up with a total profile for every strain, but I think we can come up with some general ideas that, oh, that, you know, this terpene is dominant and it affects the compatibility.
Yeah, there will be a kind of revolution for the industry in cannabis.
Yeah, because there's very few other crops that have anywhere near the same level of terpene production, and often when they do, they're not just present at all times. The difficulty with cannabis is that a lot of those terpenes are produced in the trichomes, and the trichomes are prone to bursting either by physical contact from people walking by or even by other insects walking on the plant. So we're releasing tons of predatory mites onto the plant. They're walking on the plant, bursting these trichomes open. So there could even be an issue on when you're using mites at a certain rate, it causes an interference with also using parasitoids because it increases the bursting of trichomes.
Yeah. That would be really interesting to have the result at the end. Like,
yeah.
Everybody must be looking forward to.
Yeah, it's a long ways away, 4 years probably, but it needs to start sometime.
So thank you very much, Jason, for your time today. If some people in the cannabis industry want to connect with you to know more about what you're studying and all your experimentation, what would be the best way?
The best way would probably be to email me. My email would be jlemay, JLEMAY, at uoguelph.ca. So it's just jlemay at uoguelph.ca. And I don't know if you can include that in the
we'll put it at the end of the video.
Yeah, but emailing me is probably the best way of getting a hold of me. And then we can talk, and I'm open to talking to anyone in the cannabis industry because there's so much to know, so little out there. So,
thank you very much, Jason.
Thank you for your time.
Have a good day.
Thanks, you too.